Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me directly through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is an internationally syndicated show solely due to the love and support that you all continue to show. We're available across all major podcast distributors, and like I mentioned, people, if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in because we are delighted to showcase this next guest on our network. And on the line with us today, we have the impressive Jesse Woodward. Now we're going to be discussing Jesse's incredible novel, A God's Silence, a fantasy noir tragedy. People, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, man, it's a lot of places. Most importantly, check out his personal website, jessewoodward.net. Trust me when I tell you, you're going to gather more information on him, more information on the book, hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing pages. It truly is a one-stop shop for it all. Again, that's jessewoodward.net. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Jesse here on the line. It is an absolute pleasure to be discussing this particular novel. People, I'm telling you, man, we're going to get into some things today. And this novel is going to have you looking at things a little differently. Or maybe you're already looking at it this way and it's going to help you solidify some things that you already have been wondering about. But I'm going to start, which is customarily the style that I like. I'm going to ask a question, people. Have you ever felt, or do you have the feeling, rather, like you're shouting into a void? Where the systems that are meant to protect us are rigged and silent? I mean, that's loaded. That carries some weight. And if you can relate, man, that is where our main protagonist starts from, right? From that cracked pavement that he is walking through in this novel, A God's Silence. You see, this isn't just a fantasy about outlawed magic. It is a dark mirror to our own worlds, powerless communities, and the corrupting nature of power. You see, it asks the question that we're all grappling with. How do you find your voice when it feels like no one in power is listening? Such a great concept, such a great novel for any time. But my goodness, could it have been more timely than what we are going through right now, man? Today, we are sitting down with Jesse to unpack this stunning fantasy noir tragedy and the chilling, profound connections it makes to our reality. Sit back, strap in. Let's get it going. Jesse, first and foremost, man, welcome to the network, and thank you for being here with us. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Listen, man, it is a pleasure to have you here, Jesse. As I mentioned to you briefly on the pre-screening call, and as I also mentioned in my opening, your novel is compelling. It's entertaining, but for me personally, and you know, listen, I'm always looking to, as an artist, but also as a filmmaker, whatever the project is, man, I'm always looking to try to find the messages, right? That can be claimed, the way people are going to be able to connect with the particular art that is being showcased. And I'm telling you, Jesse, my goodness, man, when we talk about the power dynamics, when we talk about overall suppression, I feel like there's something here that we can connect to, and I'm looking forward to this discussion. And I know everybody that's listening in right now feels the exact same way. First and foremost, let's start off at the ground floor. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background, please.
Yeah, so I was born in California, moved around a bit because of, divorce and all that stuff, and wound up in the Midwest for most of my life. And it was there that I went to this small university and got an English degree. And in that English degree, I sort of had my love for literature awakened by my professors in my courses, and a love for history as well. Just the way that authors of the time would capture the histories of the moment in their works, but also work in a personal message, and like, you know, how can a sole human being navigate this grand labyrinth that is society, you know? And that's sort of kind of where I come from too, where I get bored easily, so I like to create interesting settings, but I'm also very much a history nerd, so I try to have historical analogs to our history. And in those historical analogs, there's a lot of like questions to be asked about how does the individual interact with society, you know, like how does one fit in, how does one find their place, how does one find joy and peace and all this stuff in like a very alienating, because in my opinion modern society can be very alienating, you know, and it's been like that for a long time. I mean, authors have been writing about it for like 300 years at this point, so it's been a problem for a while. But I just like to offer what I've learned in book form, and hopefully, you know, the next person who comes along who wants an interesting setting, but is also feels a little out of place, that they find something to kind of hold on to and guide them in their next journey, their next step in their life.
Jesse, I'm right there with you, man. Listen, man, you are preaching to the choir, brother. All right, I'm just analyzing the sentence that you made because it's still running in my mind. Like the sentence of society being a labyrinth or being caught in a labyrinth. Oh my goodness. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm right there with you. And I know a lot of people listening in right now, they are listening to you speak and they're like, listen, you're speaking my language and I get it. So Jesse, listen, man, this is going to be a fun conversation. I have a lot of questions that I want to ask, that I want to uncover, but let's just continue building off of that foundation, okay? A God's Silence, a fantasy noir tragedy. Tell us more about your book.
Yeah, so basically the stage on which the story takes place, it's sort of an analog to modernism. One of the big tenets of modernism is the death of God, and in this fantasy setting, they used to have direct communion with God, and then things happen, and now God doesn't commune with them anymore. So this whole book is like, once God can no longer govern man, how can man govern himself? And yeah, like with that stage set, there's a lot of kind of factionalism and politicking, and you know, you have the socioeconomics of the modern day kind of thrown in there as well, with the burgeoning industrial class and all that sort of stuff. And in the midst of it all, there's just this, you know, this kid who's lost his parents, doesn't know what to do with his life, feels directionless, doesn't feel like he fits in, last of his line, he doesn't have any family, and just doesn't know where to go or how to be. You know, he was never taught. And the whole book is kind of like a coming of age of this, a very criminally tinged coming of age of this boy who just, he's smart, he's sardonic, he's sarcastic, he knows how to make light of a dense situation, but he's got a very sensitive spirit, and you know, things get to him, and he just never quite feels like he fits in, and is always trying to find out how to deal with the existential questions of the modern age.
You know, Jesse, I mean, we're diving off the deep end now. All right, we're gonna get into the nitty gritty here. When we were doing research in preparation for today's interview, and we're reading things that we're finding, there was a line that stuck out to us, and specifically, the line was that power eats the powerless. That really stuck out, right? There is something that is so pertinent about that line to our current time. But before we go into the connection with our reality, let's stay a little bit longer here and let's focus on the book and the world that's constructed This is a fantasy genre. And normally in that particular genre, we're seeing our characters, our protagonists acquiring power, but your world seems to, it seems to almost critique it in a way, right? So I wanna focus on that a little bit more. Is the magic in your world, is it inherently corrupting? Or is it actually a neutral force that a corrupt system weaponizes?
Yeah, so basically I kind of wanted so there's this big historical event that gets referenced sometimes called the Exodus, where this society is technically refugees from a world before that where the big bad guy won. Mm-hmm. And in that world, magic was very standard: sorcerer, wizard, magical energies, all that stuff. And in this world, civilized society has no natural connection to the world itself. Therefore, they themselves cannot conduct magic, but through the use of ritual and components, they can sort of bastardize magic. And often that involves taking from the land, taking from the local fauna, a very kind of colonial sort of interaction. Magic itself isn't evil, but it's like this out of control force that society, or at least this country, right? Because there's other countries in the setting that have different rules, but this country has decided that magic is best left suppressed by the masses. The masses cannot be trusted with it, so they release this nullification powder on the streets and do all these measures to make sure that the average person never interacts with magic. But that only is in the cities, right? And then there's a portion of the book where the party goes out to the frontier, and it's a completely different story out there. There's communion and understanding between they're called beastkin. The native is sentient species is called beastkin. They're weird amalgamations of beast and human. And so the interactions there are different, but in the city where the majority of the book takes place, there's a lot of strict control because it's unpredictable. Mm-hmm. And society doesn't like what it can't predict. So
Jesse, what I find so compelling about this book and about the world that you've created is in the book, it's magic that is being outlawed. But again, it doesn't take a whole lot of thinking outside the box to understand the clear metaphor for the suppression of certain types of knowledge or power, right? And as we connect it now to our modern reality, and we see debates around, this forbidden, what would be considered forbidden knowledge, right? What we can know, what we shouldn't know, and what we are privy to from censorship to the devaluation of humanities and academia. I want to hear it from you, man. I'm going to speculate and I'm going to formulate my own opinions, but what parallels were you drawing as this book's creator?
Just a word of caution, I guess, just to, so we don't go where we've gone before, the 20th century was one big learning lesson in too much state power and the state dictating daily life and all that sort of stuff, and kind of impeding on personal freedom, globally speaking, across multiple countries it happened. And I very much see that happening in America. There's, these issues are intentionally polarizing so that no real consensus or honest discussion can happen. All these debates are in bad faith, and it's just people screaming at each other and nothing constructive comes of it. And in the meantime, those in power strip away more freedoms and more access to information that underprivileged or vulnerable groups need to make sense of themselves. Take a kid in school and he's questioning some things about himself, and all of a sudden the book that could teach him how to like help them come to some sort of understanding has been banned because of whatever. And I see that as very dangerous because it's only going to further the alienation that modern society already has as a standard. People are going to get lonelier. People are going to get more, disassociated from themselves. And we're just going to struggle to come together as a community. I think if you really want to get into the weeds, I think America has a really big hyper-individualization problem where it's all about me, 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 me. There's no us, It's really, I, personally really struggled to find my communities where I fit in. It took a lot of work and a lot of pain because there were a lot of nights where I was just by myself and I didn't feel like anyone understood me. And I didn't know what to do, and it took a while, but eventually I found my tribe. And I guess that's the point of this book, is to go through the journey of complete and total alienation so that the character comes through the other side with hope that, he can find his community, he can find his tribe, he can find his calling. That's, I guess, my goal, who knows, a lot of stuff happens in the book, so who knows how well it gets lost in translation or whatever, but I fear a lot for the young person today growing up in this world where it seems like it's all these competing echo chambers that want you to subscribe to a certain ideology that is toxic. Like there's so many ideologies that are just they have an in-group and an out-group, and you need to vilify the out-group. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We're all in the same team. We're all just trying to find love and belonging and compassion.
People, I wanna take this opportunity, man, and I'm gonna point it out again. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's jessewoodward.net. Head on over there, purchase your copies of A God's Silence, a fantasy noir tragedy today. This is one that is so much more than just an entertaining read, right? It carries weight, man. Head on over there, purchase your copies today. See what I'm talking about, because I promise you, you're going to be enlightened in a lot of different ways. And Jesse, transitioning now, as we start to close out, I think it's interesting that you chose to set this book in this fantasy world, but specifically in the genre of noir, right? Because, listen, noir is a genre of cynicism, right? I mean, it's born out of an economic depression and war, and it has a very distinct style. And I'm speculating here, but I don't think that was a mistake for you when you created this book, right? So let's examine that further, man. Like, why did you choose to set it within that particular genre?
Personal love. I mean, I love the Maltese Falcon, Chinatown. I mean, I've been watching these films for years, and just I've loved the vibe and I think even amidst the cynicism, there's hope. Because, you have these flawed protagonists doing their best, and there's always, like, at the end of it all, at the pole shot, at the end of the case, there's always the view of the city, and, like, whenever you look at a view of a big city with skyline, there's just this feeling of potential, and, like, so much can be done here. And this was just one little story in this teeming, that's kind of what I wanted to go for, is that this is just one story in this teeming metropolis of, thousands and thousands of stories. And some people are having the best days of their life. Some people are finding enlightenment. Some people are, going through a divorce. Some people are, losing a loved one. And in that, like, messy collage, there's something beautiful there. And I think noir is really good because by pointing out what's, like, dirty and gritty and hard to look at, we sort of value what we have more. There's a certain cozy quality to noir for me personally, where I see the dirt and the grime and the detective, the hard-nosed detective, and I feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, yes, this is, hard stuff, but it's being traversed by someone I know can handle it. And I feel safe because they're going to come to a conclusion and stuff's going to get solved. And maybe I'll learn something about society along the way. And because, at the heart of noir, noir is a critique of modern society. It's a critique of the failings of underprivileged classes, the failings of government, the failings of, administration, and like the people who fall between the cracks. And it wants to shine a light on those things. And I think that's a very beautiful pursuit, because how are we going to know who to help if no one's pointing out who to help? And that's what noir is there first and foremost, by focusing on crime and poverty and all this stuff. Because, those are all done by desperate people, and desperate people need help.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just find something very beautiful in that.
Jesse, listen, man, you say you don't know, but I think you know exactly what you're saying, brother, right? Because you worded it perfectly, man. Like, you worded it exactly how it is, right? No, listen, man, joking aside, I love what you just said, and I'm going to save my thoughts for my closing statement in just a moment. But as we close out, Jesse, listen, man, I've mentioned it a number of times. There's a lot here to be gained. But is there anything else that you would like to let our listening audience know before we let you go?
Absolutely. These are scary times.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that you find the beauty in life, regardless of external circumstance, and really be gentle with yourself and notice the gentle, good things in your life, like going on a walk and listening to the birds, or having a nice phone call with a friend and catching up. I mean, there's so much noise and so much big volume stuff that happens every day that I think the little things, the mediumness of life, gets lost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I'm learning in my journey, is to reappreciate the mediumness of life. And you are cared for, you are loved. Someone out there wants you on this earth, and you are wanted on this earth, and you bring value to this earth. And whatever your flaws, whatever you're struggling with, you're going to be okay. And answers will come in due time. Things will make sense in due time. Not on the time you'd like, probably. It's probably going to take a little longer, but just do what you can to give yourself peace today. Whether that's going for a coffee, or calling someone, or playing a new video game, whatever it is. Treat yourself with compassion and gentleness like you would a small child, because in a way, that small child is still in you. And the more you can nurture that relationship with yourself, the more peace you'll have. So I just wanted to set out this reminder to be good to yourself, and to just bring out the love that's within you and share it with the world.
Jesse, that was beautiful, man. That really was. And people, listen, first and foremost, let me just say, you know what you got to do, right? You got to purchase your copies, man. It's entitled To God's Silence. Add it to your shelf. Get it as a gift to add to someone else's. This is much more than a fantasy. Allow this book to be that mirror to reality. Allow it to help you focus in. And again, at the very least, start having conversations with those around you. Start conversing again. Because I think that there's a lot of power to be found there. Head on over there, pick up your copies today. Jesse, this has been a true pleasure, man. An absolute honor. I really do mean that. Thank you for writing the book, but most importantly, thank you again for being here with us to discuss it all on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.